Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. Ponder this. 3 bodybuilders go into a gym, but it's not any ordinary gym. It's in Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world. And they all just happen to be writers. What happens next? Strong words, of course. I'd like to introduce the founder of Strong Words, a live storytelling event, Larry Dean Harris.
Who wants to hear some stories?
If the pen is mightier than the sword, why don't you pen a story where your life takes off and soars?
And I think tonight, I will put on my new shoes and my new dress, and I'll drive over to Joe's Cafe where there's a dance floor.
I was a young girl. I was lonely, but I didn't know that until much later. It wasn't a journal, and it wasn't a diary. I was just talking on paper.
How the heck did you guys get together and decide to turn your idea into a live storytelling experience from meeting in a gym?
I think it all starts, as any storytelling does, with the desire to share.
You are in for a treat. It's a smorgasbord of stories.
I should actually introduce the wonderful person over your shoulder here,
Michael Hirabayashi.
You met him at the gym too?
Of course.
Okay, so Michael Hirabayashi, you are a photographer.
My father gave me his old Nicormat film camera.
Somewhere along the line, this storytelling event blossomed into more than just story words.
Yeah, it's a combination of several different things. It's storytelling, which is the primary focus, and then there's music, and then there's also the visual art. And I think that both the music that we feature, the storytelling that Larry features, and the visual arts I try to feature gives us a more complete human experience.
It is a community. It didn't start that way, but it's grown to become one. And people tell their friends, you won't believe this. You know, in 90 minutes, we're gonna give you 5 stories, a musical guest, an amazing pop-up art show. There's gonna be wine, and there's gonna be conversation afterwards, and it's free.
Well, that's always the excellent, that's the best price for any kind of ticket.
I wrote about sex and orgasms and longing and determination and chicken pox and bounce checks and being trapped and feeling mighty anyway. But I also wrote about lobsters and scotch and my hero, Howard, a retired fireman who looked after me. He walked down to us every afternoon. Well, girlie, give me a little kiss. And he'd hold on just a little too long while I kissed his cheek, pulling away and laughing at him. Then I poured him a shot of scotch and he said, "First of the day."
Thank you, Claudette. All right, so now we're back with Larry Dean Harris, but we have someone special sitting next to you. We have Marlena Nichols, who is also someone you met at the gym.
Yep.
You're meeting everyone at the gym.
Met Michael at the gym, met Marlena at the gym. We have an amazing gym.
Apparently so, and a very creative one at that.
We've been watching Baryshnikov on TV, and I say to them, "Mother, Father, I would like to devote my life to the dance." And then my father looks at my mother, who is holding back laughter, and says, "I blame you for this."
We are in the era of what is your story? Everything's story, from branding to leadership to personal essays. How do you express yourself?
The clipboard lady comes with a little number. She pins it to my leotard and she says, "Break a leg, honey." So we're lined up in this big room. And I'm telling you, like, it's just like a chorus line, except we're in Memphis. And it's a family-friendly show, so we're not exactly dancing to Prince. We're more dancing to like Rockin' Robin. And I gotta say, like, I'm rocking in the treetops, up and down the dance floor. And I get thank you'd out after the first round. Then my dad and we go to Jack Purtle's Chicken after as my reward, and he gives me double biscuits because he's proud of me. And he says, like, you gave it a good shot, Slugger. Yeah, but I didn't get to do me. I didn't get to show him anything. I really wanted to be in the second round. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, he says. I didn't have that much cash on me. My dad, the gangster.
It's you on stage, and what you want to tell the audience, it's your time.
This one's fresh. I finished at 9:10 this morning.
I can't think of a safer place to get up and tell your story.
Let's take it out for a spin, shall we?
Then I asked my mom, Mom, what's your tribe's version of the ceremony? We throw babies in the river. She said that with a straight face.
What's going on? And my dad jumps right in. And quite frankly, you'd rather see a toddler drown than see your dad coming out of the lake with wet Sandsabelt slacks from Sears.
And then I had another helping of my cousin Charlene's banana pudding. Because when you're open to the idea, God can appear in many different forms.
This guy one day said to me, I have a story.
And you ignored him.
I did. I absolutely did. I forgot all about it. And then one day he reminded me and I pulled it out and I was like, wow, this is powerful stuff.
My story was about my mother and her experiences during World War II. And my family, actually, because my father was also part of that story. My father was interned in camp. My mother's family went to Japan just prior to Pearl Harbor. They spent the war in Japan. Then the atomic bomb happened, and they survived. But I think the story is telling in that it reflects back on what's going on now with a lot of the tribalization of America and into various political camps and racial camps, religious camps.
And that's a very, very powerful story.
And I think it's dangerous.
It is.
We had an amazing singer-songwriter, and she got up and blew the audience away. And afterwards, I said, thank you for coming. And she said, yeah, it was really good to be on stage again. I haven't performed in years. Aww. And I said, that sounds like a story. And she said, it is. She took our workshop, and then she got up and told the story, and it was powerful. It was a story about having a stalker.
Oh, dear.
And how it stopped her from performing for a long time. And, I mean, what a triumph.
Right.
And then for her to tell that story and then put on her guitar and sing, I mean, the room was just like on fire.
The sound of your breath at night when we sleep is the pulse and the rhythm my heart likes to keep. When you toss and you turn and you move and you shift, it's like the settling of foundation in the house where I live.
When you say storytelling, not everybody quite knows what that is. They know what acting is, they know what theater is, but storytelling is really this human aspect of the person next to you. You never know what's gone on in their lives. And then when they get a shot at the stage to tell you, you're blown away.
Who is your audience? Who would love this? Who would enjoy this?
I think anyone who wants to live in the moment, anyone who wants to put their phone down, turn off their television set, and turn off the computer and just come have that instant connection.
Live performance is very much about energy to energy, that feeding loop, like heartbeat to heartbeat. There is an interaction here that doesn't happen on a daily basis necessarily in the world we live in today.
Hi, my name is Umaima Rashid and this is LA Currents. Today we're here with Dr. Nadine Diaz and Dr. Giselle Petzinger from the USC Keck School of Medicine, Department of Neurology, and we're going to talk a little bit about memory and aging.
One of the things that we know with aging is that we get disorders of memory as we get older, and there are two in particular that are common, one of which is Alzheimer's disease, and the other is Parkinson's disease.
This disease is the most heart-wrenching. It's the bad news disease because there's no cure. Right now in America, 5.8 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease. Every 65 seconds, someone is developing Alzheimer's disease.
However, in the same time, what's been really exciting is the whole idea of what role lifestyle plays. And specifically when I'm talking about lifestyle, I'm talking about exercise.
Okay, and so what is it showing? What is the relationship between exercise and the way the brain works as it relates to memory and aging?
Right, so great question. We've been interested in the Parkinson's field and looking at a different type of exercise, and that would be what we'd call more skill-based. So whether that be Tai Chi or yoga or boxing, I'm involving more processing or problem solving. And the idea there is that it's a type of learning. It could be theater, so in the Spanish community, in the Mexican American community, where theater is kind of a natural aspect of the culture. That's a great example of how we could develop, for example, theater programs for the older individuals to participate in, which they love to do, and we begin to start showing how they can be validated. These programs are validated as effective in helping with cognition. Learning creates circuitry related to thinking, and in that context, maybe repairing areas of the brain affected by these disease states.
And a lot of the things you're talking about seem really simple, and I think it's a matter of just educating people around these ideas and these concepts.
People who practice exercise regularly, whether as an adult or even many years before, 20, 30 years before, and then being examined as an adult, have better thinking capacity than a person who's just sedentary.
Definitely makes sense. I feel like the research around all fields says that, exercise and learning is beneficial for us all.
In America, each day 10,000 people turn 65. The aging population is growing in numbers. We are booming. We are living longer and working longer, and we definitely have to prepare for the future, not just with health and aging, but policy and legislation. How are we going to take care of those that are developing the disease? In California, it's impacting people of color. So African Americans are 3 times likely to get Alzheimer's disease or develop it. And then Latinos are approximately 1.5 times as likely to get it. It's projected 832% of Latinos will develop it.
Do we know why there are more diagnoses in those segments of the population?
I think those are great questions. I think that's people are trying to understand that, but some of it could be related to other comorbidities, particularly for Alzheimer's, not so much for Parkinson's, but for Alzheimer's such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, which are going to be a little bit more common in these populations for various reasons.
Talked about the caregiving aspect of it. There is a large segment of unpaid caregiving that goes on that we don't talk a lot about, and that it seems we may not be preparing for with this increase in diagnoses, predicted for the future. So can you speak a little bit about your moving to a care now, cure later mode of thinking?
Right. As a geriatric social worker, I am on the phone every day or interfacing with people who are challenged with finding help to help take care of their loved one. One of the major challenges is that, say for a baby boomer, for example, mom has Alzheimer's disease, and the daughter has to work full-time. Oftentimes they have to stop working or they have to augment their schedule, which means that affects their retirement package and everything else that comes with it. So 16 million people right now are actually taking care of their loved ones without pay. And that is equivalent to 18.5 billion hours of service, unpaid, which equals $234 billion. This is just this year. So by 2050, it'll be $1.1 trillion just for caregiving.
Given what we're facing nationally and in our city, in a perfect world, how would you see it set up? How would you see us planning for our aging population in these diagnoses and research? What would you think?
Well, I think advocacy and policy and legislation are key factors, and we can start here at the local level. Start with Mayor Eric Garcetti and all of our 15 council persons, as well as the LA County Board of Supervisors. We have to start at home and state and federal. Some of our biggest advocates at the federal level are Congresswoman Linda Sanchez and Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Lucio Roybal Allard. They are the women at the forefront in California that are really advocating for more research, but also for lifestyle changes, as Dr. Petzinger mentions.
The cool thing about lifestyle is that it's free. I don't have to sign up for a 24-hour fitness to do that. So we're not talking about creating 24-hour fitnesses everywhere. What we're talking about is thinking about these concepts and leveraging what's in communities. So the idea that wellness lifestyle is owned by people and it's owned by communities. It's not owned by an institution, it's not owned by an insurance company, it's not owned by a database. It's owned by individuals living in a community, which is awesome. As we get older, everyone's going to come down with something, right? If it's not one thing, it's the other. So we don't live in bubbles. It's impossible not to come down with something. But what we can do, and giving a lifestyle as an example, is we can create the best version of ourselves, right? So the idea that if we maintain this sort of practice of lifestyle, we can maybe not necessarily stop everything, but if we have it, we are able to endure it better, we are able to handle it better, and we're the better version of ourselves, if that makes sense.
Can you speak a little bit to the kind of promising things you're seeing around Alzheimer's research and the way we're engaging people with Alzheimer's?
Well, I think still we have a lot of work to do. Compared to the Netherlands, I mean, they really plan for the future for their aging population.
Can you talk a little bit about what they're doing?
Well, there's a place called Dementia Village. And it was actually built for those that are suffering with dementia, late stage. So this is where people go when they are getting closer to hospice, so to speak. But it's a place where they can still feel like they are a part of a community, meaning that they have a theater, they have a store, they have a library, they have places for engagement, for exercise. They want to provide an environment where they feel normal, even though they are declining.
What we would probably say about cure is this. Number one, there probably isn't one single cure anyway, right? So I think what we're recognizing with many of these diseases is that they're hard, they're complex, there's a lot of different mechanisms, and more importantly, certainly for example for Parkinson's, there's probably more than one way to get it. So there probably is going to be, whatever that cure is really going to have probably multiple different aspects to it. Certainly lifestyle will be one component. We know that. So lifestyle with maybe some drug that would help modulate that.
That's it for us here at LA Currents. I'm Umayma Rashid. Thank you for joining us.
Hello and welcome to LA Currents. I'm Saida Pagan. More and more Los Angeles residents are reminded that wildfire season isn't just a season anymore, it's all year long. And it brings with it concern, uncertainty, and the possibility of some real serious danger. But there are some steps we can all take to be better prepared. And Los Angeles Fire Chief Ralph Terrazas is here to talk about wildfires and about preparedness. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about the Saddle Ridge fire. Tell us the scope of it, and can you bring us up to date on what's happening?
It was a Thursday night about 9 o'clock. I was at home watching the news, and I saw the report of the fire, and I saw a visual from a news helicopter. When I saw that visual image, I thought we were going to lose several hundred homes because of the wind. We were able to mitigate that incident. We lost 17 homes. We saved thousands. We lost 17 homes, and the loss of one home is a big disappointment. And we're always looking to see how can we do better next time.
Chief, let's talk about the helipad over at the Olive View Center. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening there?
The Olive View helipad was reopened a few months ago, and it was destroyed in the Sayre fire of 2008.
This is what it's about. This is good government working together for the benefit of the entire region.
We are improving public safety for the residents of the Northeast San Fernando Valley and greater Los Angeles region.
It's very good timing because we use that helipad at the Saddle Ridge fire. That allows us the capability to have up to 4 helicopters refueled or adding water to their water tanks at the same time. It was very valuable in fighting the Saddle Ridge fire.
Now, let's go back to the firefighting activities and the equipment that you have. I understand there's some good news in that you have some new equipment. I believe there's a handheld device that allows firefighters to see in smoke-filled rooms or areas more easily. Tell us about that equipment and your aerial equipment and what you have in place now for your firefighting needs.
Absolutely. The thermal imager camera allows you to go into a home or a large warehouse with zero visibility, and you can use the TIC to find trapped victims or to find a way out if you get detached from our hose line. You'll see the differential in temperature because it's all about heat. The TIC allows us to increase firefighter safety as well as the ability to find people, sometimes kids, who are hiding in a zero visibility environment.
Let's talk about the use of drones with your department.
Drones are something that we brought into the department about 3 years ago. We use drones for training. We use drones for incidents like in a brush fire. We'll wait like in the later phases of it to find the hot spots that exist. When I can fly a drone instead of a helicopter, it saves the hours that we put on the helicopter's motor, because after they reach 100 hours, they have to go in for maintenance, and the fuel that we burn, and then the fatigue on the pilots. So the drones have been a great addition to our capabilities. The technology is continuing to get better. We use a thing called Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi projects the path of a fire using real-time weather information, known fire corridors, and existing brush indicators.
I created a drop point. I developed some inputs, what time of day, how fast is the wind, and it gave me immediately where the fire was going to progress in an hour. And then we placed our resources in those communities, and sure enough, that's where the fire ended up going.
In the past, we've heard about the summer fire season and the fall fire season. What are the conditions that are different in each part of the year, and why is it now considered just kind of all in one?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables involved with your question there. We consider brush fires a year-round threat. We're just coming out of a 6-year drought. We had 1 year of heavy rain, which created light fuels, but those dry out too, and they dry out pretty quickly. And the third variable, I think, is climate change. It's indisputable here that within the Los Angeles region, we're having larger brush fires than we've ever had before. And within the state, they've had 6 out of the 10 largest brush fires in the last few years. So that is our new normal. We're always prepared. We ramp up our preparedness as we get towards September because that's the start of our Santa Ana wind season. Usually it starts in September and it lasts through April. So that is our peak time. However, throughout the year, we're susceptible to a brush fire breaking out anywhere in the city of Los Angeles.
By all accounts, in the past few years, it seems as though the fires have been worse and worse. They've been devastating. Tell us what's happening in a little more detail that is causing these fires to be so widespread and it appears so difficult to contain.
You're right, these fires in the last few years have been bigger than we've ever had. We had the Latuna fire a few years ago, the Creek fire, the Skirball fire, and most recently the Saddle Ridge fire. Basically, it's a combination of those factors I told you earlier. There's the fuel, there's more red flag days, and there's more development into the wildland-urban interface. What I mean by that is that there's more homes, apartment buildings closer into the wildland where the brush threat exists. So it's a combination of all those things, and that's what we prepare for year-round.
Now let's talk about the way fires start. We've mentioned some, but we know that there may be like the top 1, 2, or 3 scenarios. Can you walk us through some recent scenarios that you might come to mind about how these out-of-control fires sometimes start?
Yeah, the common scenarios, I wish I could tell you exactly what that looks like. Every time we have one of these brush fires, these big brush fires, it is human caused. It's very rare. It's a natural cause from lightning. That doesn't happen here in the Los Angeles region. So I would say, though, unattended campfires is a big one. Sometimes it's kids playing with matches.
Let's talk a little bit now about homeless encampments. We're not criticizing in any way, but tell us about the fire danger with regards, potential for fire danger with homeless encampments.
There is a potential. The Skirball fire was caused by an encampment along the 405 freeway. A few months ago, City Council changed the ordinance, which now allows LAPD to remove people that are living in the brush area without 24-hour posting of that property.
This is not some sort of anti-homeless initiative. This is an initiative directed at the safety of our city.
This bill is about public safety. This is about preventing fires, plain and simple.
The police need to have the ability to have them removed, ideally, willingly.
When you have a red flag condition, you don't want to wait 24 hours. You want to get people out of harm's way so that we can prevent these fires from occurring.
What more should the public know to keep us all safe?
I think the thing that I would ask there is that the public sign up for Notify LA. Text 888-777. If you want to know more specifics about what you need to do, you can go to our website at lafd.org. There you'll find information like you should trim all the tree limbs that hang above your house. You should clear the gutters from leaves and pine needles, anything that will ignite. So those tips and many more tips will be found on that website.
Well, thank you for doing a wonderful job for saving so many homes and so many lives in Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very proud of the men and women of the Los Angeles City Fire Department. I believe we're the finest fire department in the world, and I say that on a regular basis because I truly believe that. We have a great group of men and women who are dedicated professionals, dedicated to the safety of the people of Los Angeles.